Time is now. Welcome, everybody. Dr. Slava here. I'm here with a special guest. Let me introduce this wonderful person, Michelle Fuller. She's a transformational coach and a lifestyle engineer. She lives in Austin, Texas, from Lexington, Kentucky. Yeah. And we're going to find out some things about her. And I'm going to let her take it away because we want to hear what she has to say.
Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity. So my name is Michelle Fuller. My business is One Bold MF. I have the absolute best initials ever. You can take that MF any way that you want with pleasure. I was born in Kentucky. I grew up in Durham, North Carolina, and I'm a Duke fan. Oh my gosh. If you know the rivalry between those two universities, you understand that I am truly the black sheep of my family.
So everybody else is a North Carolina fan?
No, I was born in Kentucky. So I was born in Lexington. The University of Kentucky is a huge basketball dynasty. I moved to Durham, North Carolina when I was very young, about 8 years old, and I became a Duke fan. Back in the 90s, Duke and Kentucky were in the battle royale for the championship, and we made the shot at the buzzer that won.
I think that was the Christian Laettner shot, right?
It was.
Oh, yeah, that was the year. Oh, see, that must have caused a lot of heartache. And how long did they stop talking to you for?
They love to tell me that I have Kentucky blood running through my veins, and that I'm definitely the black sheep. And it's just it's a travesty the way that I've turned out. But I've got to be honest with you. I was in high school when they won, and I'm not going to apologize for this. I skipped school to go watch them come home back to Cameron Indoor and celebrate with them. That's right.
Wow. They must have been up in arms.
Yeah, you know what? And it's okay. Sometimes you got to do what you know what? All the time, you've got to do what you love.
You are a bad MF.
I am. Yes.
So one of the first questions, we have some questions for you. We want to get to know you a little bit. So it won't be exactly rapid fire, but we want to get to know you a little bit. So what is the most important thing you've learned in your life?
Oh, wow. The most important thing that I've learned on my own journey is forgiveness.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And, what was your life before you learned forgiveness? I mean, I'm sure you have something that occurred to you where you picked that out. I mean, that's not, always the most common thing, and in fact, some people don't even recognize that sometimes. So, what was your life before and after your realization?
Well, I'm going to try to give you the Cliff Notes version, but it all started in my childhood, particularly in the relationship with my mother. My mother and I had a really toxic relationship. My mom was, very, very outspoken. She was extremely independent. She was all the things that I am, but she used it in a really negative way. We did not get along. And, inside my little family that looked very perfect on the outside, there was a hell of a lot of drama going on. I felt unseen and unheard and really just unloved. I don't remember my mom ever telling me that she loved me. I was especially awkward. I'm a natural introvert, but growing up, I looked like little orphan Annie. I had freckles, I had red hair. I was a really easy target for bullies. It was particularly hard to go to school, and it was really hard to live inside my home. We moved to North Carolina when I was 8. We lived there a little less than 2 years when my parents were in the middle of a divorce. My mom had had an affair with a neighbor, and my parents' marriage started crumbling, of course. And then my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer at 32, and then she passed away at 36. I was 14. I never had the chance to heal that relationship with her. I was bitter and resentful. I not only was reeling from losing my mom, but I went off into life of course, thinking that I was unlovable and I was unworthy. I brought all kinds of relationships to my yard, literally, that were unhealthy. Everyone that came to me mirrored what I thought about myself, right? 2 failed marriages, a lot of failures inside relationships. On my emotional knees at the age of 41, if you can imagine, I'm 47 now. So 41, I hit my really, really low point. I hired a coach. He completely transformed my life. And I realized what had been holding me back. It was my mom. That's where the first heartbreak was.
Right.
But what I learned on that journey was that forgiveness for her and who she was going to be essential for me to move on. It was important not only to forgive her, but to accept it, right? Those go hand in hand. Can you accept your past and can you forgive your past?
Right. So that's incredible, and we're very grateful to you to be vulnerable enough and candid enough to come out with something like that. And for many listeners, that follow me, and then we talk to young business people or even older business people, we often talk about people being in their own way and being their own worst enemy. And how do you overcome that? And it sounds to me like you figured out what your trigger was. You figured out where your ball and chain was. And once you recognize that with coaching, which I do always talk about how highly incredible that is, that's incredible that you found that part. And from that part, you recognized how your growth was going to be. And it took that forgiveness, to transcend and to move into a different direction. So it sounds like that was holding you back. And, for all the listeners out there, it's never too late. Like, we're young. I'm 47 also,
Oh, okay.
So, I hear this all the time. And it's funny, I talk to these 25-year-olds like, I'm so old now, I'm like, relax.
Give me a break.
Give me a break. Yeah, you'll be just fine. And by the way, your little breakup, you'll be fine. Okay.
Yeah,
people go through a lot more stuff like marriages and children and this and that and family crises. You're okay. So the world's not coming to an end. And it's incredible that you recognize that and you took it and you moved into the business world, entrepreneurship and all those things, by recognizing how family structures were holding you down. So that's awesome of you that you even recognize that and that you took that and you moved on, because it's not easy to forgive. What do you find on a daily basis? Does it come back to you? I know you've worked as a coach. I know you were a bad MF, but do you have your moments where you're like, it comes back? Like, do you have like those flashback moments where you feel it pulling you back, as Ryan likes to call the forces of average?
Of course, right? This isn't perfection, but I really, really am so curious about myself. I'm so curious about people. I'm a why girl. I want to know all the whys. The thing that I learned on my own journey, and this really helped me forgive my mom especially, my mom grew up with 2 parents who were alcoholics. My grandmother was emotionally abusive. She was probably physically abusive. My mom was sexually molested by a family member. My mom married my dad when she was 17. And then she had me, I think, 5 years later. But this is my point. The relationship that my mom and my grandmother had was toxic as well. And they didn't get along till the very day that my mom passed away. Imagine that. My mom could not have loved me more than she did. There was no way for her to do it. If she had loved me more, then she would have, right? I feel like by doing the work, I'm not only better for her because she passed away when she was 36. Let's be honest. I didn't start this journey until I was 41. So I have no right to judge this woman who lost her life 5 years before I was on my own emotional knees trying to figure out what was going on. Not only that, by me changing, I can be better for myself, of course, but I'm better for everyone else. And I have a daughter. So I'm better for her. And because I'm better for her, she can be better for my grandchildren. That's why this work is so important. We do it for ourselves. We do it for our own betterment. Change is born in pain.
Right.
Some of us aren't willing to take that journey, but I would much rather take that journey than stay in the pain. But what I was going to say is, I'm doing this for so many reasons. It started with me, but now it's become impact, and it's become so much larger than me because I know how important it is.
That's incredible. And it's amazing that you've broken that chain. You know, you probably don't know this, but most likely your grandmother went through stuff too.
Yes.
You know, we don't know how many, there's a famous saying in psychology, in the medical world, hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
And we see it often. It's not a myth. It happens every day. And the most horrific things that some people have done to other people have been done to them. So, I commend you on this journey just by breaking the chain. And you could see how your next generation is already different. So with everybody listening, you can change. And the ripples and the effects that you do now could have impact generation after generation after generation, negatively or positively. The choice is yours. So that's incredible. So what advice would you give your 18-year-old self if you could go back in a time machine and you could go back and talk to the bad MF in training at 18? What would you say to her?
Wow. I want to point out something really important. My mom had a journal that she wrote in before she passed away. And in that journal, she apologized to me. And she told me how sorry she was. She told me that she loved me. And she told me that she would always be with me. Which, by the way, I don't care what religion you are, my mom is always with me. And because I've been available to her, she's always with me now. Yeah. But this is what I want to say. I found that when I was 18 going off to college. And do you want to know what I did with it? I threw it back in the box because I was still so mad and I was so unavailable for it. That's why it's so important to do this. And this is why it's so important to be better for your kids. But if I could go back in time, I would tell that 18-year-old girl who was shy and who believed that she wasn't unworthy and she was not lovable, that she can do incredible things and that she should follow her dreams and that it's all possible. And the thing that I would probably scream at her is don't settle. Don't settle, don't shrink, don't conform.
So that's a good message. I mean, first of all, in any relationship, I mean, not only to your daughter and as your mom was, had her relationship with you, but all interpersonal relationships, marriage, business partners, people settle. That's a really good point because people could be so much more. And when you have this limited mindset and belief, you're not lovable, you're not good enough, the imposter syndrome, what are you doing here? Why? Just quit. It's so much easier. Yet some of us move on and we go past that. So it's incredible. I think your journey and your advice is probably good in many capacities. I know when I was 18, I was a completely different person, off the wall, wild. And maybe some of the advice now probably would have helped my 18-year-old self. So if there's any 18-year-olds out there ready to take your journey and you're going through hard stuff, trust me when I tell you, you're going to give yourself a lot better advice in the future. And instead of making those mistakes now, listen to these wise older people, and maybe we could help you a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Well, you look 25 yourself, so what is one thing in business that you didn't expect? Something that is like totally unexpected as you've gone through this transformation and journey?
Oh, what's really funny about any business is you're always running up against the next version of yourself, aren't you? And people, unless you're in entrepreneurship, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But everything that you do, particularly when you're starting out, is new, and it feels really uncomfortable, and we as humans, our brains, they're wired to keep us comfortable. And it's why so many of us stay there. And as I was starting out, the thing that was really uncomfortable to me was being so bold on social media. I use a lot of strong language, and I do it without apology. I have unapologetic audacity at this age for what I do and for what I say. You don't have to like it, and you don't have to follow me. This is a really funny story. I started being more and more bold, more and more brave on social media, really sharing very personal stories. I was worried about what my family was going to think. I was worried about what my friends were going to think. And the first hater I had was my dad.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
And this is how it went down. My dad, and I love my dad, by the way, very close to my dad. I'm a daddy's girl. My dad he was really just the foundation for me growing up. With that said, my dad also is very old school, and he sends me this text message and he goes, I know you're really passionate, but I need you to calm down. You need to stop using such strong language. We come from a line of Southern Baptist people. I'm not religious, but my family is. And you can just imagine, here I am on social media using really strong language and a lot of F words, frankly. I wanted to shrink. In that moment, I felt like a little girl listening to her dad and trying to earn his love and his respect. And it's so funny how those old stories come up, those old meanings. What does this mean to me? What is this saying about me? And what it meant was I was on the right path. If you're noticing, I'm on the right path because I'm in integrity. I'm doing the thing that I love to do, and it's not harming anyone. I told him, you know what, Daddy, I love you, and I will always, always respect you, but I'm going to keep on sharing my voice. You don't have to follow me, and you can unfriend me. This is what I want to say about that too. My dad likes almost every post I make, and he also comments on them, and my dad tells me all the time how proud he is of me. Stand in your power. I don't care who doesn't like it. Stand in your power. Do the thing. It's going to feel uncomfortable. You can either lean into the fear or you can lean into uncomfortable, and I'm always going to lean into uncomfortable.
So, it's interesting how, you were in a situation, we all get haters, you're getting somewhere now when, stupid people say stupid things. And so it's good. Unfortunately, some of your biggest haters are people you can't tell off or smack in the head, and in your situation, it was your father, but it sounds like you did some Jedi mind trick stuff, and you got him swayed over. Like, he may not like the language per se, but he likes the message. It sounds like the message is resonating with him.
Yeah, and my dad really appreciates the work that I've done because he's seen this roller coaster that has been my life. 41 years I spent riding an emotional roller coaster up and down and through the curves and through the tunnels, relationship after relationship falling apart and marriage after marriage. My dad is a champion for me because I think what he admires, because I'm so much like my dad, his girl has some balls. And she was really respectful, but she stood her ground. My dad admires that. And he knows that he has raised a woman who, frankly, has a very strong voice. My stories need to be shared. I'm really vulnerable and very transparent about it because it needs to be said. There are so many people that hide in the shadows thinking they are the only person that is experiencing this huge, overwhelming thing. And by not sharing our story and how we overcame it, we do the entire world a disservice because, as we all know, this world needs our stories and how we overcame them now more than ever.
Right.
I had a million reasons to give up. I had a million reasons to throw in the towel. I had a million reasons to say I wasn't worthy. I wasn't lovable because I had a million reasons to support it, but I chose not to.
Right, exactly. And what is the biggest myth in your field or our field, as people who help other people? whether it be medical, psychological, transformational coaching, what is the biggest myth that you keep running into?
Gosh, there are so many. I really think that most people have a hard time really embracing entrepreneurship and following their dreams because they've been taught that it's unrealistic. And what I love to ask my clients is, when is the first time that you heard that you couldn't have what you wanted? Who told you that? And the thing that I tell my daughter too, this is really important for your younger audience. Be very careful who you listen to. Be very careful who you take advice from. If you don't respect that person, if you don't want their life, if you don't want a family like they have, then you should not listen to them. Because I only listen to people who are doing better than me or have something that is something I want to be or something I want to obtain. And you know why? Because they have been where I'm at. And so, of course, their feedback is essential to my own growth. But if you are levels below me, or you have a family that's falling apart, or you don't have a thriving business, then we're not on the same path. And I'm not going to take your feedback.
Good point. Good point. So what is one entrepreneurial hack that, that really you go back to, something that's really powerful for a young entrepreneur or even a seasoned person that wants to be an entrepreneur? What is one of your entrepreneurial hacks? We're tapping in right now.
Media is gold. Yeah. I really believe in the power of social media. The thing that I want to encourage your audience to do, use it consistently. It is the most challenging thing in the world. Let's be honest. Posting every single day isn't always fun. It's not always my favorite thing to do because I have to continually come up with content. But the more you do it, if you stay consistent, the larger your audience becomes. And the more you do it, the more you find your voice, the more you find your platform, and the more you become confident. People cannot get to know who you are unless you put yourself out there. Right. Again, it goes back to the fear. Lean into the fear and let go of being comfortable. You must do it every single day. And your commitment to what you say you want must be bigger than your fear. You must continually step towards it, and you must be very consistent. I would say that's the biggest hack so far. I mean, there are so many that I could talk about, but your consistency online, we all think that we are less than, you were talking about the comparison and people being ahead of us. You are just a few steps behind someone else. And how do you know who's watching your stuff and who isn't? How do you know? You don't. That's why you have to keep on doing it. And the more you do it, the more you find the people who love you and the people that don't, which is totally okay. And the more you find out what you're here for.
Yeah. And it's funny, those detractors often help us. They think they're hurting us in some way, but I'm going to do one of these days. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but I have a segment that I'm going to do pretty soon. So you must be a troll. So it's going to be pretty entertaining. We're working on something, and it's going to be pretty cool. But to all you trolls out there who are listening right now, thank you for your help.
And I'm so glad that you have so much time to troll me.
Yeah. Well, trolls have time because they're trolls.
Yeah, don't they?
If they had
so much time.
If they were true entrepreneurs and they actually had a brain cell, they would actually be productive. But since they're not, they're going to help me build my business. So it's great. It's a free assistant as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. You're a passionate girl. What are your major passions in life? I'm sure entrepreneurship, your daughter, what are some of your what gets you up in the morning?
I absolutely love to figure things out. It's why I call myself a lifestyle engineer, because I help my women engineer the lives that they want, right? I love to read. I love to learn. I'm a voracious reader, and everything you could ever imagine. I don't read nonfiction. I don't read fiction. I am so curious about personal development and self-help. I love Tim Grover. I love people who are very, very bold in their writings. I'm very passionate about spirituality. I'm very passionate about being the best version of myself that I can be. I love my family. I love the dreams that I have and the things that I'm bringing to fruition. And I love helping my clients and sharing my story and making an impact. All of those things are, I think, really crucial inside a community of people that's so desperately needed after the things that we've been through the last several years. Yeah. Now more than ever, our stories, our messages, the way that we've transformed our lives needs to be heard.
Beautiful. You know, you seem like a big time realist. Like you're the real girl. Let me ask a question to throw a monkey wrench in this whole conversation. So you said something interesting. Do you ever watch any sci-fi movies, or like you see ghosts, angels? Like, do you believe any of that? Okay, so you're a realist, but you have that other side of you, that something I can't logically explain side of you also.
Yeah, and I'll go back to my mom. When I was younger, well, after I had my first son, so my son is 25, my oldest son is 25. And I remember when he was born, I had walked into his bedroom and it was very cold and every hair on my body stood up and I knew she was there. Like I could just feel it. The same thing happened with my daughter. Mind you, this is years before I made my transformation. I was never available for her. I really was in total victimhood. It's her fault that I'm this way, it's her fault that I'm so mean. So whatever, all that crap. Anyways, when I started making this transformation and I started forgiving her, she is everywhere. I always say my mom is around me all the time. She makes herself known in signs, songs, the breeze, there'll be a bird. I'm always intrinsically aware of her. Yes, I believe in angels. I believe my mom is definitely one. I believe she's always with me. You know what my favorite sci-fi movie is? Doctor Strange. You want to know why?
Tell me.
Because it's really weird. And it's all about like the quantum and, the things that you can create that are super freaky deaky. I love that shit.
See, I'm going to take that away from you. You know why? I knew you would like something like that because it's logical. Like it's logical and illogical because he's this smart guy, right? And it's sci-fi, but yet it's intelligent. Yeah. And it's creative and it's intelligent. So I figured you'd go for that. But that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What is one unique skill that you have? What is a superpower? What is the MF superpower?
Gosh, I don't know what my superpower is. I'll tell you a couple. I love to speak. I love to paint. I love to draw. I love to write. I'm super creative, but I'm also very detail oriented. I can clean and organize like nobody's business. And I always thought that okay, well, maybe that's what I should be doing for a living because I just am so naturally good at it. And yeah, I'm totally bragging, by the way, because I am. But I realize that that's just something that's going to add to my coaching business and more importantly, my speaking business. And there are so many other things that I have planned in the next 5 years that all of this is just coming together the way that it should. But yeah, those are my unique opposites. I always say I love crystals because I do, but I also love gangster rap.
Wow. That's diverse. Yeah, who's your favorite rapper?
My favorite rapper, so I'm going to take it back old school, but I love Snoop Dogg, B.I.G., NWA. Yeah. I used to cruise around to that stuff.
Listen, West Coast, except for Biggie.
Yeah. You know what? I didn't have anything against Tupac. I just was never a fan of his music.
Well, it's interesting how he's an East Coast rapper who came to the West Coast, became part of the West Coast gangster rap against the East Coast. I find that interesting. I don't want to get into that beef. There's more to the story, I imagine. But I find that interesting. And, you seem very eclectic. When I look at you, I'm like, Oh, that's a gangster rap fan right there. I mean, that is a Duke loving gangster rap bad MF right there. That's what I see right there.
I rap in my car all the time, much to my kids' dismay, of course. But yeah, I mean, I think that life is whatever you make of it. And I feel like, especially at this age, I'm sure you do too. I'm just going to be whatever the hell I want to be. How about that? You know, I love crystals. I have incense and sage. I have a Buddha back there on my counter, but I also love gangster rap. I also love dancing. I love hip hop dancing. Super fun. I love rapping in my car. Why can't we have it all?
You could have it all. See,
Yeah.
that's the thing. You know, I often say this as one of my taglines. I've done a lot of posts about this. Is you could be an entrepreneur and be a good person. You can be an entrepreneur and be eclectic. You can be an entrepreneur and love your family. You don't have to be in a box. You know, entrepreneurs are often put in this box. Now, one side of you is the typical, stereotypical, what they call entrepreneur female. She's the boss. Look at her, she's hard, right? Including her gangster rap love. You know, she's hard, you know. But then you come out and you have this sensitive side, broken chain. I'm gonna be different than the way I grew up. I'm gonna love on my daughter. I'm gonna pour into her. I'm gonna do these things and have a completely loving, different relationship than I had as a child growing up. And I'm gonna do my crystals and my incense, and I'm gonna, you know, have that statue in the back, and, you know, the peace, love, and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, you are what I tell people all the time is, don't put entrepreneurs in a box. And just because you have a different personality, or you might be an introvert, you're not done. You can be an entrepreneur. You can be a loving, caring, sensitive introvert and be successful in your business life. So,
The successful entrepreneurs are introverts.
yeah, I mean, but
It's true.
most people don't see it that way. Most people think you're born with this, you know, we are born with God-given talents. I mean, there's no lie. I mean, but we develop them. And, you know, you have certain things inside of you, but it comes out, and we are all different. Entrepreneurs come in 31 flavors, you know.
Oh gosh, well, more than that, I would think.
Yeah, exactly. And most people think, you know, when I talk to people all the time, that's why I ask you some of these questions, is because I love hearing some of these answers, because I keep getting the same questions over and over again, and they put us in a box. And how can it be? How can you be a good person and be an entrepreneur? Money is terrible. It's root of all evil. The same thing over and over again. I'm like, that's BS. Money buys churches and synagogues and feeds the homeless and builds schools and builds great institutions for higher learning. It helps people, you know, open up their lives and helps transform people. So money is not evil. Evil is evil. And
Exactly.
it's what you make of it.
Yeah.
What is one of the favorite things about what you do?
Helping others. My highest value is empathy. I am extremely driven, super independent, very fierce, obviously, but yet my highest value is empathy. It makes sense that I do this. It's the perfect combination of these two really interesting opposites. I love helping women pull back the curtain on who they can be. Because if you think about it, we're all living these lives, and most of us are living in some kind of matrix that we've built that's been created for us, and it started in our childhood. And we often are very unaware of the stories and the things that we adopted so early before we had a choice to cognitively know the difference, right? So I always like to tell my clients, there's a puppet that's behind that curtain that's pulling all the strings on your life. And the more and more you're curious about that puppet and those strings that are being pulled, the quicker you're going to find that it's all crap and that you really can change it. But first, you have to be willing to confront it right? My entire platform is built on accepting the past, radical forgiveness, and taking full responsibility for your life. I feel like if you can do those things and you're willing to do those things, anything is possible.
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. And, there's so many coaching programs out there for men to help them, especially relationship coaching. I've noticed, I get hit up all the time. I mean, they pop in like, you want to improve your sex life? What? You don't own me. What are you trying to improve here? How do you know who I am? What, just by my name? What? So there's a lot of things geared to men to improve relationships, intimacy, all that kind of stuff. So do you deal with women like to help them on their relationship side also, or is it mostly facing like entrepreneurial business things?
So it's a little bit of everything, honestly. What I really do is I cater to the woman that I was. I help women who used to be me. I was able to create incredible income inside a W-2 job. I climbed the corporate ladder. It just happened to be against the wrong building. I think so many of us do that. And guess why I did it? Because I was trying to make my dad proud.
Right.
I did the safe, reasonable thing. I was the good girl. And I still am a good girl, but I'm also like no shit's given girl. With that said, what I do is I help women create balance in their life. Now, before we go down the balance, pothole, balance for them. Because balance is subjective, and what my balance is would not be yours and would not be someone else's. We all have to figure out what's going to make us happy, what's going to make us feel fulfilled. I mean, ultimately, it all comes back to mindset. But when you are an extremely driven woman and you have kids and you're divorced, you are trying to figure out how to be all things to all people. How do you do that without losing your mind? And forget it, you're trying to date too, and you're trying to heal your marriage or heal your past relationship. There's a lot coming at you. How do you create the life that is going to bring you happiness and joy? How do you do that? Well, let's find out.
Beautiful. That's amazing. So if, hopefully there's a lot of amazing women out there listening to this and will be affected by this. How do they find you? Can you tell us exactly how, like, anybody from the audience could find you? And, I plug you right now, any woman listening right now, this is a bad MF. And if you want to be a bad MF, you need to call Michelle and, get some things going. There's no shame in coaching. There's no shame in getting help. It's an absolute necessity. You do not have to be alone. And so please, Michelle, tell us, how anybody can get a hold of you.
I'm on Instagram, onebold_MF. You can reach me on my website, oneboldmf.com. And I'm on Facebook, Michelle Fuller. My picture is a side view with a pink background. Happens to be my favorite color. Can't miss me. I don't know how many Michelle Fullers are on Facebook, but I am clearly one of the coolest.
Obviously, So that's awesome. That's awesome. You've been incredible. Thank you for your time. Do you want to leave us with any closing words or thoughts? Anything that is, I like to say, inspirational for all those listening?
Definitely. Your best life is on the other side of the things that you avoid. When you figure out what you're avoiding, you will find the best version of you.
That was incredible. That was incredible. You're awesome. I'm going to see you MDM. Okay. Thank you for your time. And if you need anything from me, please let me know.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.